So it's done. After almost a decade, after an entire generation of us grew up right alongside the kids from Hawkins, it's over. Stranger Things, which was, let's be honest, one of the biggest things that ever happened to television, has rolled its final credits. And the reaction? Whoa, it was anything but simple.
You just can't overstate the pressure on this finale. I mean, how do you even begin to wrap up a story that basically defined an era of streaming? A story that people have poured countless hours and, so much emotion into. The pressure to stick the landing for millions of fans was absolutely immense.
And for a lot of people, the Duffer Brothers did exactly that. They nailed it. On one side of the internet, you saw this huge wave of just pure happiness. Fans were celebrating what they felt was a perfect, tear-jerking goodbye to characters they'd pretty much come to love like their own family.
But then, there was the other side. And wow, were they not happy. We're talking a complete and total rejection of the finale. Critics and fans who felt, well, betrayed by the ending, calling it lazy, underwhelming, a total narrative failure. The split was immediate, and it was intense.
So what's the deal? Was the Stranger Things finale a beautiful goodbye or just a baffling disappointment? That right there, that is the big question we're tackling in this explainer. We're going to break down this great divide and look at what exactly ripped the fandom in two. Okay, so how did this even happen? Well, the reaction wasn't just a few different opinions here and there. No, it was more like an earthquake that cleaved the fandom right down the middle, creating two super distinct, super passionate camps. And each one was fighting for a completely different idea of what a good ending should even be. On one side, you've got Team Emotional Payoff. These are the viewers who felt the finale gave them exactly what mattered most. Really satisfying endings for the characters and the friendships they'd been following for years. Then you've got Team Plot and Spectacle. They were all in on the mechanics, the lore, the rules of the world, and they expected answers.
And nothing really captures the split better than how the finale was built. You had the huge world-ending final fight, and then you had the nearly hour-long epilogue that came after it.
For Team Plot, that final battle was just a massive letdown. Critics were quick to point out that after seasons of build-up, Vecna and the Mind Flayer basically went down like chumps. And the Demogorgons, the show's most iconic monster, poof, gone. Nowhere to be seen. The whole thing just felt smaller and kind of less intense than fights we'd seen before.
And this wasn't just some nitpicky critic either. This was coming from the fans themselves again and again. Listen, when the final battle of your entire series is being called less exciting than a fight from an earlier season, that's a pretty big sign that for a huge chunk of your audience, the stakes just weren't there.
But for Team Emotional Payoff, the battle was just the appetizer. The real meal, the actual finale, was that epilogue. For them, that's where the heart of the show has always been. They loved the deep character closure, the quiet, heartfelt moments, and of course, that beautiful final D&D game that brought the whole story full circle.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly sums up their whole argument. For these fans, the show was never really about the monsters. It was about the friendship. In their eyes, those relationships were the entire point, and the finale got its priorities exactly right. But for the folks who just couldn't get past the plot issues, that focus on feelings came at a huge cost. It just didn't make sense. The finale left this trail of unanswered questions and some pretty glaring plot holes that a lot of viewers simply could not ignore.
Okay, so let's get into it. How is Will totally okay after the Mind Flayer, the thing he was literally connected to, gets destroyed? Why did the military, who were hunting these guys all season, just pack up and leave? What happened to the kidnapped Turnbow family? And, for real, where were the Demogorgons?
Oof! This critique really gets to the heart of the frustration for Team Plot. It's that feeling that, in the end, the show just kind of gave up on its own rules and its own lore, leaving people feeling like they've been strung along. And comparing it to Lost, well, that's the ultimate insult for a mystery show.
All this disappointment led to something pretty fascinating and, honestly, very modern. When a story you love lets you down, what happens? Well, these days, a passionate fandom doesn't just complain. It picks up a pen and starts writing its own version.
A big common complaint you saw everywhere was this feeling of safety. With no major character deaths and a victory that felt a little too easy, it seemed like the show pulled its punches right at the finish line. It just robbed the story of any real lasting consequences. And that frustration is sparked this incredible wave of creativity. From viral TikToks to these super long, detailed Reddit threads, fans started writing their own endings, each one trying to put in the stakes and the spectacle they felt the official finale was missing.
This theory was absolutely everywhere, and you can totally see why. It takes Will's biggest vulnerability, his connection to the Upside Down, and turns it into his greatest strength. It's this huge, epic moment that, frankly, a lot of people really wish they'd gotten to see.
Some fans took it even further, basically writing whole new final acts. This one rewrite that got super popular, for instance, imagined a finale with way higher stakes. We're talking the deaths of beloved characters like Steve and Hopper, and a much more believable ending for the whole military storyline.
So all of this whole debate, it really brings up a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond Hawkins. What do we, as an audience, actually want from an ending? What do we value the most?
Ultimately, the entire Stranger Things debate boils down to this choice. Do you want logical cohesion, where every question gets an answer, the plot is rock solid, and the stakes feel terrifyingly real? Or do you value emotional closure more, where the characters you love get the endings they deserve, and it all feels like a proper goodbye? Neither one is wrong, by the way. They're just different things to want from a story.
And that's really the final thought to leave you with. For a show that started with just 4 kids in a basement, a show whose central theme has always been about the power of friendship in the face of darkness, which of those 2 endings truly honors that legacy? I guess that's for you to decide.